Hello everyone, today I'll be showing you how to make this beach cover-up skirt with shell stitches. I have a written pattern for this on my Etsy shop as well. So let's get started. For this project I'm using baby cotton yarn by Hobby and a 2.5mm crochet hook. We're going to start off by making a slip knot. And then chain 128 stitches for sizes extra small and small, 144 stitches for size medium and large, and 160 for size extra large. Make sure to keep your tension pretty loose when chaining, and you can use a bigger crochet hook for this if needed. For row 1, single crochet into the 8th stitch, and then create arches by chaining 5, skipping 3 stitches, and single crocheting into the 4th stitch until the end of the row. For row 2, you're going to make an increase into the first and last arch space, so start off by chaining 5, single crochet into the first arch space, chain 5, single crochet into the first arch space again, then chain 5 and single crochet into each arch space until you reach the last arch. Chain 5, single crochet into last arch space, chain 5 and single crochet into the last arch space again. Row 3 will be a regular arch row, so chain 5 and single crochet into each arch space until the end of the row. Row 4 will be our first shell row, so start off by making 2 arches. Then place a shell stitch in between arches by placing 5 double crochets into the single crochet space. And then single crocheting into the next arch space. Repeat this until the end of the row. Make sure that there are at least 2 arches between the shell stitch and the edge. The shell placement at the end of the row will look different depending on what size you're making. You can have 2 to 4 arches between your shell stitch and the edge. Row 5 will be an increase row, so you're going to place 2 arches in the first and last arch space. Start off by chaining 5 and single crocheting into the first arch space. Chain 5 and single crochet into the first arch space again. And then you're going to place arches in each arch space. For shell stitches, single crochet into the third double crochet. At the end of the row, make an increase again by chaining 5, single crocheting into the last arch space. Chain 5, single crochet into the last arch space again. Row 6 is a regular arch row, so chain 5 and single crochet into each arch space until the end of the row. Row 7 is the second shell row, so first take a look at where your first shell was placed, and we want to place these shells 2 arches apart diagonally from the first shell row. Start off by placing arches until you reach a point where you'd want to place a shell stitch. The number of arches before the shell stitch will look different depending on size. In my case, I had to place 3 arches before making my shell stitch. As you can see, these arches are 2 arches apart diagonally. Keep repeating the pattern of placing 2 arches and then a shell stitch until the end of the row. By repeating this, you'll be able to see that all shells are 2 arches apart in all directions. Because we are increasing in some cases, you'd be able to add an additional shell, but you still want to make sure that the last shell is 2 arches away from the edge, so in my case, I'm not going to place an additional shell. Row 8 will be an increase row and row 9 will be a regular arch row. I'll meet you back again at row 10. Row 10 is a shell row. Make sure to map where you want to place your first shell stitch. You can see it diagonally from the last shell row or vertically from 2 shell rows below. Keep repeating the pattern of placing 2 arches and then a shell stitch until the end of the row. In this case, I am able to add an additional shell because I'll still have at least 2 arches before the edge. Continue on to the repeat of making an increase row for row 11 and a regular arch row for row 12. In this shell row, I'm able to add an additional shell at the beginning of the row since it will be 2 arches away from the edge. From here on, continue the 3-row repeat of a shell row, increase row, and regular arch row until you reach your desired length, and make sure to stop after an increase row. Before we start the last row, find an approximate middle shell of the last shell row and place stitch markers 3 shells away on each side. Start the last row as you would for a regular arch row, so chain 5 and single crochet into each arch space until you reach the first stitch marker. Once you reach the first stitch marker, instead of chaining 5, you're going to chain 3 and single crochet into each arch space until you reach the second stitch marker. And now make regular arches by chaining 5 and single crocheting into each arch space until the end of the row. By adjusting the last row this way, we're cinching in the skirt at the waist part so that there are no gaps at the top when you wear it. Now we'll work on the border for the skirt by making single crochets along all sides. For left and right side, place 3 single crochets into the chain space and skip the single crochet space. For bottom corners, place 4 single crochets into the chain space. And for the bottom side, place 3 single crochets into the chain space and place a single crochet into the single crochet space. For the top corners, place 2 single crochets, chain 1, and 2 more single crochets into the chain space. For the top side, edge to stitch marker, place 3 single crochets into the chain space and 1 single crochet into the single crochet space. If you did not remove your stitch markers, this would be helpful. I did remove mine, so it's a bit harder to see. But between stitch markers where you have your 3 chain space, place 2 single crochets into the chain space and a single crochet into the single crochet space. Then stitch marker to edge, place 3 single crochets into the chain space and a single crochet into the single crochet space. Moving on to the shell border, you're going to single crochet, skip 1 stitch, and place a shell stitch by inserting 5 double crochets into the same stitch. Then skip 1 stitch and single crochet. This will be the repeating pattern along the sides and the bottom of the skirt. You should stop the shell border once you get to the top right corner so that both sides match. And now you'll just slip stitch. Chain 1. Cut off the yarn and pull the yarn through the loop. Now you can party hardy because the skirt is done. Make sure to block it and stretch it out so it will look nicer. Other than that, I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you follow me for more tutorials. Also give me a follow on Instagram, which is the same handle as this channel, and tag me if you post the skirt. Bye!